Inside a castle, there was a man who being chained and held captive. His body is full of wounds and bruises. Our protagonist had been enduring the countless experiments who deeply seeks for the knowledge no one ever could have. Their teacher enjoy this sight, while our boy getting torture over and over like a lab rat. Questions linger through his mind. Why did someone like me, who is said to possess a gifted mind, end up like this? The teacher, Balrog, ordered them to do it now, and they forcefully manifested the stimulant, causing Verdar to split blood on his mouth. Chain rattles as Verdar trying himself to endure the pain while begging them to stop. Balrog got irritated by the noise and decided to leave the room and ordered the students to report to him once the experiment is over. Verdar couldn't imagine that he would die in the magic tower where he had dreamed of this place once. A man pulled his hair, mocking him of how he feels and teases him for being zero talent as a mage, but acted up just because people praise him for being smart. So these bastards decided to take that knowledge in their secret research lab. Weller requested him to act smarter, more like he used to, and while Weller was talking as he saw a black ant crawling and quickly shifted his attention to it. Weller noticed that he wasn't listening, asking what he was looking at as he turned around and saw the ant that Verdar was looking as he ordered them to manage it properly, which they quickly apologized. Due to the annoyance, Weller stepped on the ant and called them an idiots. So he compared the crushed ant to Verdar, mocking him wasn't even able to break a chain, and they thanked Verdar for helping them with this S-rank research. He revealed that Verdar's friend had once entered the magic tower and was sponsored to study abroad, as he pitted Rovelin for having a friend like him and laughed ridiculously. While Verdar had full confusion in his head as he sought answers, and as he saw them, he knew that everything happening to him right now was because he was weak. While Weller asked what he was mumbling about, then Verdar started cursing them, calling them a bastard. All of this started 15 years ago. Verdar grew up in an orphanage because he had no parents. All he wanted was to become an incredible mage, and in the end, Verdar entered the magic tower as a normal worker to learn magic. But no matter how hard he worked, he couldn't become a mage because his growth limit was in rank 1, which means he was talentless. That was the mage compatibility test that he took at the age of 7, which meant that he couldn't become a mage. That was essentially the death sentence for him, whose long-time dream was to become a mage. But Verdar didn't give up because his only dream was to become a mage, and he secretly peeked at the spellbooks left in the rooms while he worked as a menial laborer at the magic tower. Verdar also learned the crux of numerous books that are found in the magic tower's library, and even though he didn't have a lot of magic power, Verdar was confident when it came to knowledge. A few years passed by, someone complimented him that he was a genius, and that day Verdar finally became a researcher of the magic tower. Lucid expressed his amusement, asking how a normal researcher thinks of this, describing this about the entire magic tower, and even the magic tower Balrog would acknowledge. That was when Verdar realized a truth even he didn't know about yet, that his intelligence is not just a talent, it is in the realm of genius. Verdar was overwhelmed upon hearing it, thanking him as he needed to prove this thesis before it was presented, which Lucid was surprised to ask if he was the first person who saw it, which Verdar agreed about. Lucid, the only researcher that Verdar was close to, finally acknowledged him, and Lucid was the reason why Verdar remained at the magic tower, not as a laborer, but as a scholar of magic. Verdar thought it was fine until Lucid presented his thesis as his own, and it was too late to find out. Verdar went straight to the tower master and begged Balrog to believe him, explaining that it had gone missing before it presented, then Lucid submitted it under his name. Balrog Beshes was the respectable Bohemian magic tower master, as he knew he wouldn't slide it. While Balrog clarifies if he was the real author of this theory, and Verdar agreed, asking if he could explain everything from the start. Balrog stood up and expressed his amazement as he didn't expect there was such a talent among the regular researchers and tapped his shoulders, and Verdar wished he hadn't gone to Balrog that day. Balrog smiles, wickedly inviting him to come to his lab in 2 days when the moon is shrouded. Verdar had left the tower and had been able to live a normal life for the next 7 years, as he was thrown into a room, and Weller got irritated as he tried to resist, threatening him that tomorrow he would start the intensity of the experiment. And that was how Verdar was forcibly confined in the Tower Master's laboratory and became a laborer by day and a test subject by night. Verdar was told to create a magic circle and validate the theory of his thesis, to inject drugs into his veins and observe the reactions himself, to invent a new potion and prove its effects, and to devote his life to the magic tower. Even Verdar tried to reveal the truth. No one would believe him, and all he received in return were threats from the Tower Master to kill the people he'd cared about. Verdar was lying on an empty cell, where his light was the moonlight on its window. Felt hopeless as he thought everything was already over, asking himself what he could even do now. As he started to recall his childhood time when Rovelin called him to hurry, while Verdar told her to wait, but a mage called him out to move quickly, which he agreed to. After a while, Rovelin promised him to become great mages together, and they pinky swore together as Verdar promised her also. Verdar questioned himself as to whether his growth potential had been just a little higher. Things would have turned out differently? Verdar tried to reach where he was okay, and it turned into dust, and was hit by the truth as he admitted it was all over, while tears streamed down his face. While Verdar was thinking about something, the experimental ants had crawled inside to his cell. He notices the sound again as he had heard it every time he was being experimented, as he didn't know anymore, wishing himself just to die. A voice spoke up coming from the dead ant earlier, asking if that was how he truly felt, which Verdar said not yet. But the ant clarified if it's not over yet. The ants started to form on something, telling him not to give up for the sake of revenge and survival. The ants formed into a person, encouraging him to hold on and endure it again, as it touched his face, motivating him once he was reborn and never be trampled again, as he could use it as a great power and would surpass his limits. Verdar was inspired by knowing it's not over yet and planning to sharpen the blade of revenge he'd been longing for, and the past 7 years with everything he'd got until it's complete, as he needed to solve that one last problem. Using a sharpened piece of rock, Verdar started to carve, as he believed that the face had greater power, isn't just having a smarter mind, as he simply needed to defy his fate, rewrite the rules, and rebuild the body in a way the world had never seen. As he called it, the theory of defying heaven, and he slammed the rock on the ground, and it turned out his cell was full of heaven-defying seals, as he planned for tomorrow that he would break through his limits. Verdar cast a low-level magic on his hand after the desired theory of defying the heavens, which would allow him to reconstruct his body, and it finally completed once he accepted his death. He picked up his clothes as he needed to activate the theory, was that artifact that could let him cast magic, just once, as he didn't care if his magic-less body shatters in the process while he wore his clothes. Verdar decided that tomorrow evening he will reclaim his freedom. The long night past the day he finally awaited. The day he put his plan into motion dawned. Weller opened the cell, ordering Verdar to clean the alchemy laboratory. But Verdar stops, which irritates Weller, telling him to wash the blood stains and patch up the cuts, as he questions him if he complains because of a little experimentation, and reminds him the festival is coming up, as he needed to work even harder. Weller asked if he heard him demanding to answer him, which Verdar agreed to. After washing his face, he quickly got to the alchemy laboratory and started cleaning. While busy cleaning, someone chimed in asking if he was cleaning up alone, and he quickly turned around. To his surprise, it was Rovelin, as she was smiling at him. Vendor asked what she was doing here, and she explained that she wanted to say goodbye, which Verdar clarified if she was studying in Virant, as it was a rare honor for the tower's finest, as he congratulated her while she was left staring at him. Rovelin reminded him that her offer still stands, inviting him to come with her to Virant, as she expressed her disgust at this place, assuring he wouldn't deal with the people who looked down on him. He might find opportunities to learn in the Magic City. She lost her focus as she explained that she didn't mean anything special, as she wanted to talk while her cheeks were turning red. However, Verdar declined her offer, as he wanted to stay here, which made her speechless. As Rovelin got in the carriage, Verdar promised to write letters on her behalf. While staring outside, Vendor knew that she didn't know the real dark truth that he had been subjected to all this time, as Weller told him to hurry. Verdar was still grateful for it, was because she wouldn't get caught up in his plan. The Magic Festival, where all the mages had gathered, and one of the most globally recognized holidays, commemorating the construction of the first magic tower and celebrating the revival of magic, is, and it is the busiest day for the tower. Once the magical festival begins, the high-ranking mages all leave for the major cities, leaving only the low-ranking mages behind. Verdar knocked on, and the administrator told him to come in, and the administrator got annoyed, asking what he was doing here. Then Verdar explained that Balrog ordered him to clean the treasure vaults. As Verdun handed him the tea, the administrator scolded him that he must have permission, thus the administrator told him to go, and warned him not to scratch or lose a single thing, which Verdar agreed. This is the beginning of Verdar's plan, as he opened the door and touched a crystal ball. He quickly turned around, as he was glad that he had activated the artifact to block out sound, and he knew it had begun as he walked down the stairs. As he reached the last step, he was welcomed by an artifact, and a magic spell surrounded it. It was the second circuit, the artificial artifact that the Tower Master used an astronomical amount of money to create, and it allows a mage to perform triple casting and temporarily awakens the latent talents of its wielder. Verdar knows he needed that staff to execute his plan, and to get it, he must disable the protective magic circle, and which is the 7th tier spell personally created by the Tower Balrog himself. So he placed his hands on the circle, and it started to react, as he was confident since he'd spent the last 7 years studying how to break it, as he started to apply what he'd studied for. He activated a powerful spell, causing the 7th tier spell to break, as he was slowly reaching the second circuit. Meanwhile, a table with a lot of liquors could be seen, and two men were drinking, while the one guard complained that others were enjoying the festival while they were stuck at the power source, which his companion told him that they didn't have a choice. The bearded man explained that he was enduring it, and it was based on skill. He wouldn't have been chosen. Then his attention shifted when he heard knocking on the door, and to his surprise it was Verdar, as he delighted and ordered him to get them more booze. So, Verdar pretends to go out while the bearded man stated that once he became the tower master, he wouldn't have to drink cheap drinks, which his friend questioned him about whether he could obtain the tower master's seat easily. Little did they know Verdar had already secretly obtained the Second Circuit staff, while the bearded man's friend promised him that drinks are on him once he becomes the tower master. The bearded man gladly accepted it, saying he would remember those words as they were enjoying talking. The bearded man's head suddenly decapitated, causing his friend to be shocked in fear. He got alarmed and turned around asking what he was doing. Much to his surprise, it was Verdar aiming the staff at him and asking him if he had lost his mind, which Verdar said was a reaction he didn't expect at all. He fell into a rage, questioning him if he could possibly harm a mage, as he offered him to fix his delusional brain. Then he cast his rank 3 magic tidal wave, saying if he survives that spell, but Verdar countered it with his earth spear, as a medium-sized rock had blocked his attack, leaving him stunned. Blood splattered on the floor, as one of those rocks got him real bad, but despite the pain, and he asked how someone of a mere rank 1 could use magic, which Verdar asked if he was surprised that a mere test subject like him could cast magic. Vendor focused the staff again, telling him that this would happen when he toys with people too much, and quickly executed him. He put the bodies of the mage guards on a machine that Verdar was looking, and he was mesmerized upon seeing it from this close, and it was the magic tower's power source. He took 7 years to reach that point, and Verdar removed his clothes, as he was using the mana from the power source as he initiated Daying Heavens, which he doubted once he failed he didn't know what would happen. And it revealed the spells that were intact on his body, and he grabbed the staff and slammed the head of the staff. The spells below started to activate, then the staff surged with power, and it circulated as he ordered his body to reform. Verdar summoned the Defying Heavens, and a strong energy occurred, and the power source also released an immense energy on it, while outside of the tower a mana overflowed on it. Meanwhile, the carriage quickly stopped upon seeing it. Balrog knew that the magical power energy was from the power source, which meant someone had trespassed into his magic tower. After the process of his extraction, all the nearby houses got ruined and turned into a ghost town. Verdar just regained his consciousness as he set aside the debris from the tower, and he came out holding the staff with him, but the staff turned into dust, thus he knew it was destructive enough to wipe out the entire area. Still, he was thankful he was still alive, and he guessed it was a success. Suddenly, Verdar notices that a dazzling light is approaching him, and magic circles are suspended mid-air with a blue light descending rapidly. Much to his surprise, it was Balrog, and Verdar wondered if he sensed something had happened to his men, while Balrog was above. Balrog cast his magic power and struck it quickly where Verdar was at, creating a massive impact. As the smoke faded away, Balrog jumped down to check if he hit Verdar, but to his surprise Verdar got away using a teleportation, which made Balrog infuriated as he pondered if he seriously messed with the magic tower. Balrog stood up with an overwhelming energy that started to appear, saying he didn't care who it was, while the rocks started to float as he assured that he would find him and kill right away, as if the heavens themselves were enraged. Bolts of lightning tore through the sky. In the deep forest somewhere, Verdar wanted to sleep more, but he notices that he couldn't move an inch as he confusedly heard the sound of water, which he didn't know he was sleeping on a river, as the water came into his mouth, causing him to get startled and spit out the water. He sat down wondering where he was as he thought he was running away, so he checked himself using the reflection of the water, leaving him stunned as his appearance changed, leaving him wondering why he looked like that. Verdar's brown hair turned into an ashy color, and instead of his black pupils they changed into blue ones. So he started touching his body as his mind was full of questions whether he had become a different person or did something happen to his body while being reconstructed as he thought it worked. Verdar recalled what happened when he came across the people from the magic tower. He succeeded in defying heaven, and before Balrog could catch him, and quickly escaped using teleportation magic, then he ended up in that forest. He started checking around as he had never seen this forest before, and he didn't see any plants back in the Bohemian magic tower, and he smirked as he knew successfully teleported across half the entire continent. Verdar started laughing, realizing he was free as he successfully executed defying heaven to transform his body and escape the magic circle he'd prepared ahead of time, and he thought of Balrog feeling right now as he was sure that he was furious. He was relieved that the tower was destroyed as he left them no idea who did it, as he knew it wasn't to bring the magic tower down. Although they lost manpower, Verdar was sure that Balrog had countermeasures, plus he didn't receive the nickname, the Omnipotent One, for no reason. But Verdar set aside that for now, as he knew that the magic tower being rebuilt, he'd grow stronger for his revenge. And he promised himself that he would destroy everything he built up in front of his eyes, and himself a mage would be etched in history. Verdar's sole purpose was to take revenge and prove himself as a mage as he bids farewell to the magic tower for a while. Meanwhile, in the deeper of the forest, a goblin could be seen holding an axe as he slammed it trying to open the box. Verdar saw it and cast his magic power called Wind Cutter, and striking it quickly to the goblin, leaving him stunned and successfully decapitated. Upon his observation, he was kind of disappointed as he didn't feel any difference, and he suspected some issues while his body was reconstructed. Aside from his appearance is mostly the same, even his mana capacity hasn't changed. He kicked the head of the goblin due to his annoyance, and he knew he was far away from the village since goblins were running around. But then he noticed the marks on the ground as he wondered if someone had dropped their stuff while in a hurry. So his curiosity went high, and he quickly activated his mana detection to find the owner of that crate. So immediately the mana detection followed the markings, and it reached a carriage, while the man was in a hurry and demanded his horses to run faster than they could. The man's face looks terrified, asking himself what he just saw and how he ended up in this situation. Earlier, while running into the remnants of the bandits was supposedly wiped out recently, as he passed through the woods wasn't a problem, and even failing to negotiate while saying that he had connections to Baron Pythe, as all of his mercenaries running away to escape death wasn't the issue either. But he noticed that one of the bandits behind him was floating, which made him scared so bad. As he turned around, it was an orc smiling at him that scared him while the orcs were busy attacking those bandits, and he managed to escape. Suddenly, he heard a growl from a distance, causing him to feel anxious, wondering if they were chasing him. So he whacked his whip on his horse, ordering them to run faster. But then his carriage hit a dead tree on the ground, causing it to come out of balance and crash. As he stood up, he held his back while enduring the pain. To his surprise, his face turned white as he saw creepy eyes staring at him. It was revealed that the goblins and orcs surrounded him as he was being shaken to death, and he couldn't afford to be killed by them. The goblins quickly rushed towards him as one of them swung his sword, and the poor guy, he just closed his eyes, accepting his fate. Unexpectedly, someone casting an earth wall, which managed to block those attacks. He stepped in and told them he forgot to leave him a hole for air, so the orc heard it and looked where it came from, and it was Verdar asking if he could kill them before he suffocates. Verdar cast a magic power, stating it was his first real battle, causing the orcs to be excited as they growled, while Verdar expressed his happiness since it was the perfect tome for him to test out his abilities. The trees were covered in fire, while Verdar struck his multi-flame arrows towards the goblins, causing them to burn alive. On the other side, their leader knew that Verdar was not as easy as he thought, and he ordered the orcs to attack him as they started running, while Verdar cast his multi-flame arrows whirlwind double-casting heat wave arrow, which magic circles had appeared. A large explosion had occurred where all the orcs and goblins died on the ground, then it suddenly started raining, while Verdar was surprised to himself since he wasn't able to kill a single goblin before, as he was sure that they were left. He walked closer to where the man was earlier as he needed to get him out before he passed out. As he was opening the earth wall that he made, the leader of orcs had appeared silently on his back, trying to reach him. Thus Verdar sensed it, and to his surprise that one of them was still alive as blood splattered on the ground. A little while later, the man was safely riding his carriage again. His name was Conrad, expressed his gratitude, stating he would never forget what he did today, and if he weren't there he wouldn't have barely made it alive, which he asked how he could repay his debt to him. Verdar's facial expression shows unfazed, reminding him to keep his eyes on the way, or else he'd flip the carriage again, which Conrad agreed. But then Conrad asked him a question, saying when there was a horde of monsters, was he ever in danger or trouble, as he apologized for asking it, which made him irritated that Conrad talks too much, and told him it was a little dangerous, as he didn't expected that one of them was still alive. Thus he cast quickly his wind cutter skill, and struck at his head, causing it to decapitate it, but he smiled and told him not to worry about it. Verdar changed the topic as he asked if thieves appear often in this area, as he heard thieves usually avoid areas where beasts are common. Then Conrad denied it, explaining it was his first time running here. He clarified that this forest is under the control of Baron Pythe. When he was little they used to exchange letters, since he had connections with him, and was told that thieves in the area should have been defeated. As he revealed, it was the reason why he took the same route as usual, without any expense mercenaries, and he guessed his luck just ran out today, while Verdar realized that his teleportation didn't failed, but he arrived in the right place. Although he erased all the traces and changed appearances, it's possible that the Bohemian Magic Tower could be looking for him, but for now he'd need to hide his identity and grow stronger. Conrad noticed that Verdar was quiet as he asked if he was listening, and Verdar told him that he hadn't introduced himself. Verdar decided to change his name for a while, but Verdar will be used when he faces Balrog, the Magic Tower leader, and he introduced his name as Asher. At 5th Territory Baron Estate. The man's face looks worried, asking what happened to him, so Conrad muttered an excuse that he lost it while running away from the orcs, and the man quickly apologized, asking if he was okay, which Conrad told them not to worry, and it's not his fault. The man notices Asher clarifying if he was the mage he helped him, as he couldn't stay still when the savior of his friend was right of him, and invited him to enter the castle. Not long after, Asher entered the castle, walking closer to a door where the servants bowed at him. So the door opened as he expressed his gratitude, thanking him for providing him clothes, food, and a place to sleep as he bowed to pay respect, which the man smiled and told him not a problem. The man introduced himself as Baron Pythe, Henrod, the one in charge of this territory, and asked him to take a seat. The table was full of a delicious meal, and Baron clarified if his name was Asher, and if the food was good to his liking, which Asher agreed to. Baron expresses his gratitude for saving Conrad and prepares 5 million elk, and he awkwardly asks if it's okay if he would like to hire him for a job and pay handsomely. So to achieve his goal, he needed money, and this would be the chance to practice his magic in combat, as he put down the fork and requested that he tell him what kind of job that was. Baron stated that a few days ago, they found bodies hanging from their necks in the southern forest. According to their investigation, they were all residents of a nearby town, and found that the town was in complete ruin, but they weren't sure who wasn't behind it at first, as they found out that it was the world of bandits. But Baron stated that they tried to search the entire territory, but they came up with nothing, as all of their traces had been erased with magic. Verdar suspected that bandits had a mage amongst them, and Baron agreed with what he said. Thus Asher asked when he planned on hunting them down, causing Baron to be delighted. For days went by, a man was walking towards the crowd. The man showed a respectful gesture, introducing themselves as Enoch, knight of Baron Pythe, and the black-haired was Harris, and the other one was Peric, as they greeted Asher, and Asher greeted them as well. Asher felt this was a good chance, that he didn't expect that kind of job would be hunting down bandits, which he thought, as he needed to think, was a reward to stay with them for long. So Asher notices the people around, asking if they were also part of this plan, and Enoch explains that those people are adventurers, as they gathered because they heard rumors of an odd orc that appeared recently, and the payment for killing was pretty high. Even gold-rank adventurers are there as well. Gold-rank adventurers are on the same level as ordinary knights. In other words, they are skilled veterans trained in using energy to strengthen themselves and their weapons. They headed into the forest, as there are rumors that people at that rank are capable of cutting down mountains, wondering if they still needed him despite having 3 knights at their disposal. As they walking, Enoch asked if there was a mage among the bandits, to which Asher agreed and asked why they needed him. Enoch explained that normally, Tier 2 mages have similar strength to ordinary knights, but if they start using long-range spells, it makes it much more difficult for knights to close the gap, and the best case would be that they didn't have to deal with a mage in the first place. But Asher told them it was unlucky then, causing Enoch to notice something was wrong as he stopped. Asher stared at something, telling them there was a magic circle in front of them as he swung his hands, casting a dispel magic power, revealing the magic circle that he was talking about. Enoch was alarmed, asking why there was a sudden magic circle had appeared and how there was something like that in their territory. But Asher explained that the spell he had just taken down was for camouflage and to warn the user, as he ordered Enoch to get back, as he was going to take down that as well. Asher used his wind cutter and successfully destroyed the spell, which made Enoch surprised that Asher was able to take down magic circles, easily wondering what kind of man he was. Explorers. They belong to a guild taking on commissions across the continent to explore unknown territories or repel monsters that threaten people. Death always lurks by an adventurer's side, but even so, people admire them because with skill comes wealth and fame. However, when an adventurer becomes so strong from numerous near-death experiences that they couldn't help themselves and point their blades towards other humans, consumed by desire and abandoning their honor, and they have become a bandit in the end. Meanwhile, Varja and Vilshan were looking at the dead deer as he was cursing someone. He was mad because the damage from Pythe's raid party hasn't even been cleaned up, and now they were getting attacked by orcs and goblins as they were running out of food as well, so he scolded his members and ordered them to hunt. On the other side, Enoch thought it was them, and Harris asked what they should do now as they were waiting for his orders. So Enoch explained that they let their guards down and ordered them to attack right now, but Asher stopped them and told them to wait. Asher explained he was there to support him as a countermeasure against mages, as they haven't estimated the enemy's strength yet. But Harris asked what if they start moving, which Asher told them there is a way. Varja was disappointed after all the effort he put into expanding the operational area, when the subordinates he recruited last time were getting killed too. But Vilshan told him enough with the complaints, and they must think of a countermeasure. Vilshan asked if he believed that an orc laughs like a clown would come and kill their subordinates, and Varja denied it, as he never expected it would happen back when he worked as an explorer, as he wished if he didn't get caught killing an explorer for money. Varja changed the topic by asking if they could attack another village, but Vilshan refused, as he explained that Baron was mad for hanging the corpses by the tree, as they had been hiding with concealment magic, which he requested that they start moving into a city called Martes nearby. As they were talking, a sudden fire landed towards them that caught their attention, and it created a massive explosion. Thus Vilshan managed to block those attacks, as he knew the guy behind it was using magic. It appears that the Baron's Pythe Guild had made their entry, as they surprised them with their attack, causing Vilshan and Varja to be pushed. Due to the strong impact, Vilshan coughed up blood after receiving damage from those attacks, and Varja was alarmed after seeing him. Asher spoke up explaining that the mana barrier was a defensive skill that had a fast casting time, but it could easily be broken since it's not very durable, causing Vilshan to be surprised knowing that Asher was a mage. Asher told Anak that he was finished revealing their strength, requesting that he might take on the mage, which Anak agreed to. Varja got mad, asking if they ought to finish this time with a mage, as he prepared his sword and rushed towards Anak, and they both clashed their swords. Varja yelled out with his lungs, telling that he would deliver his head to the Baron as his reply, and Anak just chuckled, telling him it was scary, dared him if he could. On the other side, Asher was chasing Vilshan as he got annoyed as he was trying to run away. Fortunately for Asher, he was using Earth Wall, and only those who are third circle and above could use flight, as he described Asher as a second circle. Vilshan quickly asked how long he would stand there as he cast the multi-ice arrows towards him as he planned to strike him, and he assured himself that he was only a low-level mage as he planned to kill him before he left. As the multi-ice arrows were approaching Asher, as he quickly cast his multi-flame arrows, so their arrows started colliding, and not long after a massive explosion occurred, causing the left a huge hole in the center. Vilshan smirked as he thought he was dead, saying that Asher picked the wrong guy to mess with. A figure of a man could be seen as he suggested that if he came with a knight, it would have been a loss for him, but he was confident that he could kill him by himself and run away afterward. As the smoke fades away, Asher appears completely fine, telling him that he has no intention of letting him go. Then he compliments his confidence and magic ability, as he didn't see a talent like him in a while, as he clarifies if he never thought about getting stomped here today. Turns out he summoned a third circle magic falling ice, as a gigantic diamond-shaped ice had appeared above, so he quickly fell it where Asher was and ordered him to die, but instead of happiness his face turned white. It appears that Asher managed to block his falling ice by using his earth spear as it flowed a force, and it started to circulate all over him. Then he quickly snapped it, and the ice shattered into pieces. Vilsher was flabbergasted about his ability, as he thought he was a second circle, and Asher told Vilsher to take a guess while he cast a sharp ice into his hands, and Vilsher was in disbelief that he could use a third circle spell, but he also had 4 attributes. So Asher stabbed the sharp ice at Vilsher, resulting in his fatal death, while Asher was glad that he came, because now he'd learned how to fight against a mage. Meanwhile, an orc was sensing something, and the orc was wearing a golden necklace, and it appears he had killed a lot of people. 2 days before the expedition, Asher created an experimental medicine using ingredients he brought from the magic tower, and he called it the Magic Circuit Dilator. When he thought about those hellish days he'd spent in the magic tower, he didn't want to try human experiments ever again, but thanks to it, Asher was able to reach the 3rd tier. Asher observed that Vilshan was dead and thought that he had left traces of the bandits being defeated, as he wanted to prove his triumph and to gain his trust. But he noticed the wand that Vilshan was holding and quickly used his appraise skill. It's a magic stone wand with a spell applied on it, and it decreases the time it takes to cast spells and increases the effectiveness of ice-attributed spells, and thought it might be good for him. Suddenly, Perik called him out, and he quickly turned around, while Perik was in relief that he was safe as they took care of all the bandits, and Asher apologized that Vilsher was stronger than he expected and took some time to take him down, which Perik believed him. Asher clarifies if they managed to defeat the bandits, and Perik affirmed, explaining they still have to take care of Varja, since Anak was fighting against him. So Asher asks if he could ask a question before they go back, which Perik agreed. Asher asked what they should do with any of the bandits' possessions, and Perik told him that they're barren, they could take it as long as they needed them, causing Asher to be delighted. So as they got back, Anak complimented Asher for what he did, stating that if it wasn't him, they would have way more casualties, and Asher told him not worry, since it was a great experience for him also. On the other side, Varja was devastated that Vilshan was killed, so he might think of another strategy, as he couldn't accept being executed, and he had to escape. Suddenly, the sound of a knife clashing caught their attention. Unexpectedly, Varja was in rage, swinging his sword, rushing towards Anak, as he knew without Vilshan's magic they couldn't get through their ranks, and had no choice but to kill Anak, steal his horse, and make his way out. As he tried to strike his sword, Anak managed to block it, so he pulled out the dagger and attacked him, but Anak easily grabbed his hands, causing Varja to be stunned while Anak grabbed his shirt and slammed him to the ground. The knights hold Varja tightly, and Anak orders them to restrain him while Varja asks him how he could disgrace his knighthood like that. But Anak chuckled, asking what he meant as he pulled out his dagger. Anak raised the dagger, aiming at him, saying pride is something only the living could indulge in, as he struck his dagger at him. So, Anak apologized as he showed him such an unsightly scene that he didn't always fight like that, and Asher complimented his work too. Then Asher looked at the remaining bandits, asking why they let them live, and Anak explained that Baron knew a few familiar faces amongst the bandits. Anak believes they may be survivors from the farm town attack, and that's why they plan on moving them to the castle and confirming their identity before they decide their fate. So Harris orders everyone to prepare to head back to the castle and move the bandits, and the knights start to move the bandits while the man feels tense upon seeing their situation. Because he couldn't afford to accept it, and decided to run out of the place as he didn't want to die like this. As he was running out of the woods, Horace told them he would handle it, but Asher stopped him as he felt something odd. Suddenly, the man begging was asking for help, causing them to be alarmed, and Harris was surprised as he inhaled, knowing it was the smell of blood. Meanwhile, something was approaching them, and Harris quickly blocked it using his sword, and to their surprise, it was the head of the man earlier. A gigantic orc was coming out of the forest, causing their jaw to drop, while Asher was in disbelief that the adventurers had failed to defeat it, and it revealed a gigantic orc with a giant sword on it. Asher knew that the orc wasn't the one, as he sensed a dozen of them, which he suspected must be their leader, as he compared that he encountered one before, describing that it had a long corner's mouth that made it look like smiling, and its size was massive, making it tower its own kind, as he suspected it might be an evolved one. Their leader ordered them to attack them as they started to rush at them, and Anak ordered his knights to form a defensive position and focus on the goblins and the orcs after that. Anak started to attack the orc, but he managed to block his attack, using his sword, causing him to be pushed away easily as he landed on the ground. The orc raised his feet, trying to step on him. Fortunately for Anak, Harris and Perrick quickly slashed his feet, and he lost his balance. So Anak rushed towards the orc and struck his sword on his chest as he pulled it down, which fell to the ground. The orc couldn't accept it as he grabbed a goblin and started to eat it, which made them shocked. As he finished eating, he belched loudly and vomited up a bone of the goblin. Because of that, the orc was regenerated and healed all his injuries quickly, while Anak was surprised by that he had just healed by eating his own kind, as he decided not to go back as long as it wouldn't finish. Anak ordered them to prepare to fight, and the orc swung his sword, aiming at them as he threw, while Harris quickly noticed it and managed to block it with his sword. Due to the strong impact, Harris's sword is slowly developing cracks, causing him to wonder, and to his surprise, it shattered as the debris had a scratch on his face, causing it to bleed, and Harris received a lot of damage on it. Perrick was shocked and called Harris's name, but because his attention was on him, the orc launched as Anak warned Perrick to be careful, so Perrick quickly slashed his sword, but he was surprised by what he was seeing. Perrick's sword didn't affect the orc's arms as it was being stuck in its muscle, and Perrick knew he was indeed in trouble as he told them it was stuck while the orc's hands raised, aiming at him. But an earth shatter skill had hit his face, causing its teeth to be taken out. Thanks to Asher, as he managed to save Perrick and ordered him to move this way, so Perrick managed to move aside. Perrick felt sad and complained that he couldn't retrieve his sword, and Asher stated that the orc's recovery speed and physical durability were strengthened after he ate that goblin earlier. But Perrick was in disbelief as he attempted a single strike with his full power, as he didn't expect that the orc was strong, and Asher confidently said it was not strong, which surprised Perrick as he asked what he meant by it. Asher explained that the regeneration and strengthening through consumption could command those below and induce lunacy, and it has the strength to even overwhelm knights, as it's definitely different from the casual orcs. Asher realized that it was too weak to call a special entity, as there is a limit to normal magic. Even if they pour more mana, it couldn't expand past a fixed scale, and if they go beyond limit, the magic itself get extinguished. That is the rule of magic, but there is one spell that doesn't have that limit. Asher cast the magic skill called Geography Manipulation, and the magic circle appeared on his hands. Then the ground started to shake, which made the knights panic, while Anak told them to remain calm and maintain their position as the part of the land started to lift. It appears that a part of the land was uplifted and helping them not to be reached by the orcs and goblins, and some of the orcs were falling on the ground. Even their leader had fallen, as well, causing some orcs to squeeze, while the orc was infuriated at Asher. So Asher summoned his third-tier spell called Flame Ball and struck it down towards the goblin, resulting in them being burned alive. While Perrick was delighted as he cheered Asher to burn them all, and Anak told him to maintain some dignity, but Perrick didn't listen. Asher knew that his third-tier geography manipulation doesn't have a limit in expansion, But there are no mages who use this as their main magic because of the extreme amount of mana it consumes, and it is not worthy to compare to its force. He was disappointed, wishing he had enough mana to create a force higher than 3rd tier. All of a sudden, there was surprised seeing the orc eating his own kind again as his injuries started to heal again. Perek quickly clung to Asher, asking what he was going to do next, and Asher knew that the orc didn't want to be burned alive and cast his wave skill as a large amount of water had occurred below, and Asher jumped down and cast the multi-ice arrows, Winter Gust double casting bitter cold arrows. An ice crystal was hitting the orc while the goblins had already been frozen, but the orc was dedicated to killing him as he launched his attack. Asher dodged it as well, so he dashed behind it and planned to freeze his body so it wouldn't be able to move his body. The orc quickly turned around, and Asher was already prepared with the wand and cast the frozen orb, managing to freeze the orc as he confidently stated that his conquest was completed. Meanwhile, at the Magic City Virant, the man asked if he had seen the news, and the old man stated that he had. The man asked if the magic tower is sealed off, as he heard that the magic tower's energy source exploded, but the old man asked if he trusted that. While a group of mages had passed by, the old man revealed that most of the remaining mages had disappeared, and the magic tower's functions had stopped, and the scale of the damage was too big to consider the energy source exploding as the only cause. The old man suspected that it was a divine punishment or a planned man-made disaster, while the mage was glad that they succeeded in proving the theory, as she wondered if any letters came from the magic tower. But the old man loudly said that someone had plotted to seal the Bohemian magic tower, causing her to stop, so she walked closer to them, while the old man speculated that the Bohemian magic tower would never seal itself, as he heard they were undergoing secret experiments. Suddenly, the old man was pulled, causing him to be surprised, and she demanded him to say it again, which confused the old man, asking what her problem, and it appears it was Rovelin, as she asked what happened to the Bohemian magic tower.